Hi, I'm Cheri Magill Heaton. I am the mother of three children, and I'm also a singer-songwriter. I am so excited to talk to you about motherhood today. This is a topic that's so dear to my heart. In fact, I've spent the last year of my life writing songs and recording songs about motherhood. I really wanted to write music for you as mothers, music that would uplift you and excite you about this important job of motherhood, music that you could listen to in the car with your kids, and music that would help you feel that same joy that you feel when you scroll through pictures of them at night and they're fast asleep in their beds. I still remember the moment I found out I was going to be a mom. It took a lot longer than I had hoped for, but finally I got those two little pink lines on the test, and I was so excited, beyond excited. But as I look back now to that moment, I feel like I knew so little about the journey that I would be taking. I had no idea how that journey would push me to my limits at times and also cause my heart to almost just break open, bursting with joy. Motherhood is the best. Now, while I can honestly say that motherhood is the best, I can honestly also say that there are times when I've really struggled to find that joy within motherhood. Motherhood can make you question everything you've ever thought and learned, and can even make you question your actual sanity at times. Motherhood has pushed me to my closet where I have cried and cried many moments and felt hopeless. But I never stayed in that closet long enough for anyone to call me in as a missing person. I took a deep breath and exited the closet and tried again. And when I think about motherhood, I think that is the only way we can really judge our ability as a mom. And if we are still trying and we're not giving up, then we're doing awesome. Sometimes, however, we do need a little bit of a reminder of the importance of the work that we're doing. I feel like that with my music at times. It's a little scary to take on a big project and not know how to do everything. I feel overwhelmed at times, and I think, how am I going to get these messages to the people that I want to hear them? And when I get really stressed out, there's one thing I do that's really helpful to me. I play the songs, I listen to the tracks, and it gets me pumped up again because I get excited about the messages of those songs and how I want to share them. And likewise, I think sometimes in motherhood, we need to find a way to hear that music of motherhood again, to refuel us so that we can do what we need to do and keep going. So today I have 3 ways I want to share with you, ways that have helped me to hear the music of motherhood. Number 1, creating space for laughing and creating. I'm talking about making space in your everyday life and in your home for silliness and creativity. As I look back on my childhood, there is one aspect of it that is really important and dear to me, and that is I am really an introvert by nature. If you ever saw me at a high school dance, I was probably the one standing on the side feeling awkward. But at home, I always felt like I could bust out my craziest dance moves and try it. Home is that special place where we can be whoever we want to be. And I really wanted to create that same feeling for my kids in my own home now as a mother. To do this, we must allow our children to see the silly side of us. We must dance and play and laugh along with them. Maybe you can have a dance competition as you set the tables. See who can put the silverware on with the best dance moves. Maybe you pick up your kids from school wearing a Darth Vader mask. It's okay to embarrass them a little bit. Maybe you put on that Princess Halloween costume you have in your closet to have a tea party with your daughter just for fun. Or maybe you learn to use the skateboard or hoverboard or roller skates or whatever the passion of your child is at the present moment. Sometimes I think in the busyness of life, we forget that life is meant to be full of joy. And I know that I fall into that rut a bit myself sometimes and forget that. But if there isn't time in our day to be silly or to play, then maybe it's time we create a little more space in our lives. Now, I'm not just talking about dancing. I think anything creative brings a lot of value and joy to our homes. I have a son who loves to paint and he loves to draw, and I can actually tell whether he's been doing those things or not by his attitude and his behavior. He is so much happier when he's creating and doing something like that. And the same goes for me. I love this quote from researcher and author Brene Brown. She says, "Unused creativity is not benign. It metastasizes. It turns into grief, rage, judgment, sorrow, shame. We are creative beings. We are by nature creative. It gets lost along the way. It gets shamed out of us." I think creativity can also help us to make learning come alive for our children. Maybe your child hates practicing handwriting, but if you get out a cookie sheet and spread some pudding all over it and let her write those letters with her finger, it could be a blast. Or maybe your son is learning how to measure and you could put chalk lines on the driveway and let him throw a water balloon to see just how far he can throw it and to learn to measure that way. Or maybe you struggle with reading with your child because he or she doesn't like it. Maybe you take turns, each of you saying one word and then the other saying the next word, and you read that way. There's no right or wrong way to really learn. And I think creativity and laughter will bring so much more joy into our homes and into our lives as mothers. I want to sing a song for you now that is very much about creativity. This is one I wrote for my kids called Lasso the Moon.
Time to blow the light out, dear. Lay your weary head down here. Close your eyes and breathe in deep. I'll be with you as you sleep. The day is done, but our adventure's just begun. We will race through the jungle, swing from vine to vine. We will grow glittering wings and soar through silver skies. We'll dive into the ocean waves, climb up mountains, creep through caves. We'll grab onto a grizzly bear. He'll carry us through canyons where the stars are close enough to reach. We'll paint them different colors each, and as you sing a little tune, my darling, I will lasso the moon. And like a string on a balloon, we'll tug along that glowing moon. When we make our way back home, we will have to let him go. He'll float up high, but we'll be back tomorrow night. We will race through the jungle, swing from vine to vine. We will grow glittering wings and soar through silver skies. We'll dive into the ocean waves, climb up mountains, creep through caves. We'll grab onto a grizzly bear. He'll carry us through canyons where the stars are close enough to reach. We'll paint them different colors each, and as you sing a little tune, my darling, I will lasso the moon. La-da-da-da, la-da-da-da. La-da-da-da, la-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Number 2, become a seeker of the good. Of my 3 children, there is one of them that has always been the most challenging for me personally. We are both stubborn, and he knows exactly what to say to make me crumble and fall apart. A few years ago, I was really fixated on this, and I was frustrated, and I kept analyzing his behavior and figuring out exactly what the issues were that he had. And I tried to help him recognize what those issues were. However, none of that was really helpful at all. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Then a year ago, when I started writing songs about motherhood, I began the process by writing a song for each one of my children. And as I wrote his song, it took a lot longer than the song for my other two children, but it was actually a really beautiful and therapeutic process for me. I started focusing on all the things that I loved about him and all the fantastic personality traits that he has. I really gave some thought to who he was as a person. And as I started looking for the good in him, I started to forget the so-called issues that I felt he had. And I began to get him more and get annoyed a lot less. I began to learn from his strengths and to make him aware of them as well. We became much closer. And even though we still butt heads at times, I think he feels now like I have his back. And I feel like if he says something that's a little hurtful, I know that he doesn't really mean it. There is so much good within each one of our children. And I think oftentimes a lot of it just goes unnoticed. But when I try to point out the good in them, their attitude is so much better. Their behavior is so much better. And frankly, so is mine. It's a lot harder for them to disappoint someone that they know is their biggest fan. So the song I want to play for you next is the song that I wrote for that sweet son of mine. He is a brave little boy. My favorite attribute about him is his courage. He isn't afraid of a 500-page book. He isn't afraid to speak in front of a large group of people. He isn't afraid of trying new things. When he was 2 or 3 years old, we have these big boulders in the back of our house, and he started climbing up them, and at first it terrified me. And then I started to realize that he really loved it, and he had a special talent for it. So this is his song called Brave.
I hold my breath as you climb higher, higher than I ever dared. And it's not that you have never fallen, it's that you don't let the falls make you scared. Challenge lights the fire in your eyes, and you chase it through the mountains and the skies. You are my biggest adventure. You are my far shooting star. You are my strong tidal wave, and you make me, yeah, you make me brave. Some build walls of limitation and focus on the boundaries, but you set your sights on the horizon, and that's all that you ever see. Inhale courage, exhale any fear. Start the engine and let your bold heart steer. You are my biggest adventure. You are my far shooting star. You are my strong tidal wave, and you make me, yeah, you make me brave.
The third way that can help us to hear the music of motherhood is to think like a tour guide. My favorite aspect of motherhood is that I get to show each one of my children the world and all that it encompasses. And that's an amazing, awesome job to have. And when life starts to feel kind of blah in the day-to-day, this thought really excites me. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to spend thousands of dollars taking your kids to Disneyland twice a year. It doesn't mean you need to fly them to Europe and be there for their 10th birthday. It means you get to show them the most precious things in life and also the little fun things as well. To me, it's about taking them on an amazing hike, even though they might whine about it a whole lot. It's also about footed pajamas and the amazing taste of cookie dough. It's about explaining history and appreciating our freedom. It's also about showing them that we don't give up when the going gets tough. It's showing them our real selves as well. I don't believe it does our children any good for us to teach them that we are perfect. If they don't see us struggle and cry or admit mistakes, how will they feel when they struggle or make mistakes? Part of being a tour guide means modeling self-love, forgiveness, persistence, and mercy. This last song is a song that I wrote for my daughter. She is my last child, and she made me even more aware of the need I had to be a role model as a mother because she copies every little thing that I do. She has also really taught me to love with my whole heart. So this is her song, Tour Guide.
Lisbon, Belize, and the Oregon coast, running in fresh grass with painted toes, watching the sun color all the evening sky. Driving the streets to see Christmas lights, learning to ride on a two-wheeled bike, footed pajamas and catching fireflies. My baby girl, welcome to your world. It's open wide, and I'll be your tour guide. Getting up after you've fallen hard, owning your stories and all your scars, setting your feet on the not so traveled path, daring to give your own heart away, giving to someone who can't repay, learning to treasure the season that you have. My baby girl, welcome to your world. It's open wide, and I'll be your tour guide. So much to show you, so much for you to find. Where the doors that are closed open to those who are brave and kind. My baby girl, welcome to your world. It's open wide, and I'll be your tour guide. Yes, I'll be your tour guide.
So, if at times you're struggling to hear the music of motherhood, know that you can make changes. That's what life is all about, making little changes and course corrections in our lives to help us to be happy. You can create a little more space for laughter and creativity. You can try your hardest to seek out the good. And you can remember that it's your job to show your children the world. And you can do that in any way you want, with all the passion in your heart and all the ideas in your head. You are a tour guide. You are a mom, and you are doing a great job. You got this.